From Fox 19 Now, this is a breaking news alert.
We're following reports of multiple shootings overnight. I'm Dan Wells.
And I'm Jessica Brown. At least 3 separate incidents on Sunday night. This is the second night in a row of gun violence in the city.
Around 9:30, someone was shot on May Street in Walnut Hills. The victim showed up at Good Sam with a gunshot wound to both hands.
And over the Rhine, a man was shot in the back on Broadway Street. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to be okay. Witnesses say there was a large crowd in that area that was dispersing when police got there.
Then, in Mount Hope, in East Price Hill, a woman was taken to the hospital after she told police a bullet came through her car window and hit her in the hand. Those 3 incidents come just hours after an earlier round of shootings here in the city of Cincinnati.
We're going to break down the timeline on all of those events in just a moment, of all those incidents. But first, let's get a check of your forecast with Frank, who's watching. We have a little bit of a cool down this morning.
Yeah, a little bit of a cool down, a little more comfortable.
Right now, we got to talk about Saturday night first into Sunday morning because 19 people were shot and 4 people were killed.
Police say they responded to at least 4 different incidents, and right now they appear to be unrelated. The first shooting happened around 11 p.m. Saturday near Gilbert and Lincoln Avenues in Walnut Hills. Police say at least 3 people were shot. None of them were critically hurt.
Around 12:30 on Sunday morning, police responded to Calafonte Place. 4 people were shot. Those victims drove themselves to the hospital, and 21-year-old Antonio Blair died from his injuries.
Shot to me apart in the area of Back Street.
I copy. How many shots?
Man, that's a whole lot of shots.
That was the first police call out for gunfire in OTR early Sunday morning. Police say 11 people were hit by bullets right along East McMicken Street. 34-year-old Robert Rogers and 30-year-old Jaquez Grant were both killed. Police say they found 6 different types of shell casings at the scene, which means at least 6 different weapons were fired.
Now, the 4th incident was early on Sunday morning on Lynn Street in the West End. Police found a man dead in this scene when they arrived. The family of 39-year-old Myron Green confirms that he, in fact, was the victim. Numerous city leaders have spoken out about the weekend's events in person and also on social media.
Fox 19 Now's Lauren Artino is live at Cincinnati's Police District 1 headquarters with what they're saying about this weekend's incidents.
From Fox 19 Now, this is a breaking news alert.
It's frustrating. It's very frustrating to see this violence and this level of violence, especially in a park like Smale in this city.
Breaking now, 2 people are dead, 3 others hurt after a shooting at Smale Riverfront Park overnight. Approaching 6 o'clock here, I'm Jessica Brown.
I'm Rebecca Smith, in today for Dan Wells. Right now we do have crews at the scene of the shooting and at UC Medical Center. We're going to go to Allison Montoya first. She's at the banks.
Yeah, she's at the banks right now. You can see it's still shut down at this point after that shooting overnight. Did it spill over to the banks?
From the station that's always local, always now. This is Fox 19 Now.
If you want a vaccine to kill the virus, a job to support your family, and freedom to live your life, then go cast your ballot, cast your vote for me. We're going to do it. We're doing it.
And folks, when Americans vote, America will be heard. When America's heard, I believe the message is going to be loud and clear. It's time for Donald Trump to pack his bags and go home.
We are going to win 4 more years in that very beautiful place called the White House.
I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'll govern as an American president.
Good morning and happy Election Day, everyone. I'm Jessica Brown.
And I'm Dan Wells. The first polls open across the tri-state in just 90 minutes. We have team coverage for you. Lauren Miner is live in Kentucky and Steph is at the alert desk, breaking all of the election news and updates for you.
We're going to get to them in just a moment here, especially our election coverage as well. But first, let's get over to Frank, who's watching the forecast for us today on Election Day. A lot of folks going out to the polls.
Fabulous. Look.
From Fox 19 Now, this is a breaking news alert.
It's now been more than 30 hours since the first polls closed across the nation, and it's still unclear this morning who will lead the nation for the next 4 years. Good morning to you. I'm Jessica Brown.
I'm Dan Wells. Right now, former Vice President Joe Biden is just 6 electoral votes away from securing the presidency. Here's where the electoral count stands right now. According to the Associated Press, former Vice President Joe Biden leads with 264 electoral votes after Michigan and Wisconsin were called for him yesterday. President Trump right now has 214. The first to reach 270 wins.
Let's give you a look now at where the electoral map stands. You can see the Associated Press has yet to call Pennsylvania, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina, which are all too close to call. And while they have called Arizona, news organizations like CNN have not. And the president is hoping it turns red with an increasingly tight race there. Votes are still being counted in Arizona at this hour. And here's a look now at where the popular vote stands for the candidates right now. Joe Biden leads in the popular vote with more than 3.46 million votes.
We're also hearing from Joe Biden, as well as the president and his attorneys who spoke to the media yesterday. Take a listen to what they had to say.
My friends, I'm confident we'll emerge victorious. But this will not be my victory alone or our victory alone. It'll be a victory for the American people, for our democracy, for America. And there will be no blue states and red states when we win, just the United States of America.
This election gets decided by the people. These people, the elite, they don't care about the people. The people are the deplorables, the chumps. They're not important. To President Trump, he's the whole reason that he ran for office. And he's the whole reason for which he's carrying on this campaign, so that your vote can mean something.
Now, it is important to note that President Trump did not speak publicly to the media yesterday, but he has been active on Twitter. Right now, we know there are legal challenges pending in Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Michigan, and also Georgia, with the Trump campaign calling for a recount in Wisconsin. Stay with Fox19 Now for the latest breaking developments on our website at fox19now.com and also on our free mobile news app.
Continuing our election coverage now, the future of the Senate also remains uncertain this morning. Take a look at this live map. We're still waiting on results from 3 states. North Carolina, Alaska, and Georgia. We're going to show it to you here in just a moment. And right now, Republican candidates lead in all 3. To keep control of the Senate, the Republicans must have 51 senators. Both parties have 48 right now. And protests have erupted in parts of the country the night after the election, including right here in the tri-state. Dozens of people gathered in downtown Cincinnati demanding that every vote be counted to ensure that the election is fair. About 50 people gathered at Pyatt Park. It was one of more than 100 protests organized throughout the country, including Philadelphia, New York, Detroit, and Chicago. Well, Emma Wilson says she helped organize the rally in Cincinnati after hearing a speech from President Trump.
We organized this protest because Trump declared last night that he was not going to concede the election results, basically, no matter how they swang, if they swang towards Biden. And, we wanted to organize people to say, hey, we want to stop Trump if he tries to stay in control of the White House and tries to declare the election results illegitimate.
The coalition Protect the Vote is planning to have several more protests throughout the week, waiting and watching to see what happens next.
All right, as you've just heard, we've also seen some peaceful protesting outside the Maricopa County Recorder's Office in Phoenix as ballots continue to be counted there. A majority of demonstrators are supporters of President Trump, and they claim there's been miscounting.
From Fox 19 Now, this is a breaking news alert.
I'm going to walk down to the Capitol.
At this hour, our democracy is under unprecedented assault, unlike anything we've seen in modern times.
Today was a dark day in the history of the United States Capitol.
We are staying on top of breaking news from Washington, D.C. this morning, where just hours ago, Congress officially declared President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris the winners of the 2020 presidential election. Approaching 6 o'clock right now, I'm Jessica Brown.
I'm Dan Wells. The Electoral College count was put on hold for hours due to some violent protesting. More on that in a couple of seconds. But first, we do want to let you know Joe Biden received 306 votes to Donald Trump's 232. President Trump released a statement following Congress's certification of Joe Biden as president-elect, saying in part, "Even though I totally disagree with the outcome of the election and the facts bear me out, nevertheless, there will be an orderly transition on January 20th, end quote.
And Dan and Jessica, breaking right now, we have new video from the House floor just after the votes were certified. Take a look right here. The camera zooms in to catch House Speaker Nancy Pelosi initiating an elbow bump with Vice President Mike Pence. Mike Pence also returns the bump. This was following the Electoral College vote count certifying Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as the next president and vice president of the United States. Also breaking this morning, the citywide curfew for the District of Columbia has expired here as of 6 o'clock. Now, so far, there have been no major problems reported overnight. The state of emergency declared by D.C.'s mayor, though, will remain in place for 15 days up through the inauguration on the 20th. Dan?
All of this comes after violent protesting interrupted the original Electoral College vote count yesterday afternoon. It started when a large group of pro-Trump supporters took to the Capitol steps after nearby rallies hosted by the president continued. The president asked them to march to the Capitol. Eventually, those protesters forced their way into the Capitol building. This is video taken inside. It shows that group before they breached the door. Another shows lawmakers crouched and hiding on a balcony as Capitol Police guards guarded the door with their guns drawn.
According to the Associated Press, at least 4 people died during all that chaos. 3 died from medical emergencies, and the 4th, a woman, was shot and killed inside of the Capitol. That woman has now been identified as Ashley Babbitt. We're told she's from San Diego. Fox News says she was a 14-year veteran who served 4 tours with the Air Force. Right now, the circumstances surrounding the shooting are unclear.
This is a developing story that we are following.
Is a breaking news alert.
I believe this will ultimately be the longest tornado in certainly U.S. history, from the point where it touched down to when it finally picked back up. There is no lens big enough to show you the extent of the damage here in Graves County or in Kentucky. Nothing that was standing in the direct line of this tornado is still standing.
Wow. You just heard from Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear describing the scenes in western Kentucky after a deadly tornado outbreak early Saturday morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Miner, filling in for Andrea Finney.
I'm Dan Wells. That tornado outbreak caused significant damage, as you can see, in the region, leaving at least 50 people dead across the entire state, and that total could increase.
Yeah, 5 other states were also hit by the tornado outbreak. That includes Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, Illinois, and Mississippi. But Kentucky is considered the hardest hit, with one of the tornadoes creating a path of destruction over 200 miles long.
So we are covering the story from every angle with team coverage. We're going to start with Frank, who is in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and it's just insane. Yeah. And we'll also have Morgan Parrish coming up with the local efforts to help people in those affected areas. Frank.
I got to tell you, we just made our way.
I believe this will ultimately be the longest tornado in certainly U.S. history, from the point where it touched down to when it finally picked back up.
That's Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear describing the tornado outbreak over this weekend as historic.
As we mentioned earlier in the newscast, at least one of those tornadoes that hit the ground was traveling for at least 227 miles, so 200 of which were in Kentucky alone. The National Weather Service says the tornado was at least an EF3 and at least 3/4 of a mile wide.
One of the places hit hard was Mayfield, Kentucky. We're learning 8 people died in a candle factory that collapsed during the storms. The company says more than 90 workers have now been found. More than 100 employees were reportedly working inside during the collapse. 8 are still missing.
Right now, Ohio Task Force 1 is headed to western Kentucky to help with those relief efforts. The urban search and rescue team just left before 10 o'clock last night for post-storm search and rescue efforts. Now, the team includes 45 search specialists and canine search teams. Their exact destination is not clear at this point.
And the American Red Cross is responding across multiple states after a string of horrific tornadoes ripped across the region, as we just saw there.
Yeah, so
still expect that we will find at least some more bodies. There is just so much destruction. I hope that that's not the case.
Day 5 of search and rescue efforts continue this morning across western Kentucky after those powerful and deadly tornadoes. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. I'm Andrea Finney.
I'm Dan Wells. Here's what we know right now. So in Kentucky, the death toll remains at 74, and of those dead, we know 12 were children. Officials say more than 100 people are still missing. We also know much of the region remains without power this morning, and the cleanup effort is intensifying.
And President Biden is set to tour the damage in one of the hardest hit places. That's Mayfield, Kentucky, later this morning. And that's where we actually find our Lauren Miner. Good morning, Lauren.
Continuing coverage, urban search and rescue teams continue to comb through the rubble that stretches hundreds of miles after tornadoes devastated western Kentucky.
Ohio's Task Force 1 is getting ready to start their 4th day of work, and the images they are sharing can only be described as devastating. The specialized group from our area has been working an 85-mile stretch into Dawson Springs, Kentucky. As of yesterday, we're told there are still residents unaccounted for. Dawson Springs mayor says 75% of the town is gone.
They are taken back by the amount of damage that we've seen. And, you know, our guys have been on, hurricanes that look very similar to this, been on a few tornadoes. It's not quite as common for us to be involved in a tornado like this. But again, they're taken back by the amount of damage and just total destruction of homes. It's just staggering.
Task Force 1's 45-member team is on a 16-day deployment.
Seven Hills Church in Florence is sending a team to help with the cleanup efforts in western Kentucky. They're partnering with the Cajun Navy Foundation and the Convoy of Hope to do so. They're asking for donations to fill a tractor trailer. Some of the items they are collecting are on your screen right now. The group is collecting all of those items during their Christmas services beginning this Sunday through Christmas Eve.
This is a Fox 19 Now First Alert Weather Day.
All right, we're starting this hour with another live look from our Toyota Storm Tracker here. This is Beachmont Avenue, and can't really see the roadway that much, completely snow covered there. And we are talking about ice this morning as well. Good morning to you. I'm Jessica Brown.
I'm Dan Wells. So we were talking about kind of a large amount of snow yesterday, which materialized in a weird way with ice, not necessarily snow.
Upper levels are a little bit warmer, and
we're going to check in right now with Lauren Miner to see what things are looking like where she's at in the storm tracker.
Hey Rebecca, we are now in Mount Washington, and you just saw our shot there on Beachmont Avenue, which is a highly trafficked road. Not this morning. I haven't really seen a whole lot of cars out on the roadway, so I think a lot of people may be choosing to work from home today, which is the good news, because these roads, man, they're not looking good. You can see here as we travel on some of these side streets in Mount Washington, they are completely covered, and we've had a hard time trying to get around here. You're obviously having to deal with that snow, but also that ice underneath it, which makes it really, really slick. We've had a hard time getting up some of these hills, and it's just something you're going to want to keep in mind. If you have to head out this morning, give yourself some extra time, take it slow, and if you do not like driving in the snow whatsoever, you're going to want to stay home today, because we are seeing quite a few issues out there on the roadways. But for now, we'll go ahead and send it over to Allison Montoya, who has a look at the roadways in her area. Allison, where are you, and what are you seeing?
Hey, thanks so much, Lauren. We are still in Westchester here this morning, and we are seeing some snowflakes fly. It kind of laid down just a little thin layer here in the parking lot where we're at. So Dylan's going to get you a shot here of this extra little layer. So this is actually that fluffy stuff that we were seeing a little bit of yesterday. Thank goodness it's not those ice pellet, the sleet. That's pretty slick out there. That's what caused a lot of this slush as well out on the roadways. Dylan's going to get you a look now on 75 northbound. Those are the lanes closest to us right here, right off Union Center Boulevard in Westchester and off 75. And, our go up here, it was pretty slow. If you're headed out right now, if you have to be somewhere, just give yourself a lot of time. I'm not talking about 10 extra minutes, 20, probably add on an extra 30 minutes because you're going to go a little bit slower as usual. And but I also see a lot of cars going a little bit faster than they should. Maybe they feel confident in their vehicle, but I like to err on the side of caution. So a lot of companies are out right now, whether it's private companies doing these restaurants and businesses, or you've got ODOT out there and city plows. They are doing a heck of a job, but it was so hard to keep up with everything and that ice and that sleet and snow from yesterday. So give them some more time if you have to go anywhere. Maybe wait till later on in the morning, later on in the day. If not, just stay home and watch us right here on Fox 19. We'll send it back to you.
We're keeping an eye on all those closings and delays popping up. There are more than 300 right now, so we have that full list on our website, fox19.com. They're also scrolling at the bottom of your screen.
Hey, tri-state coronavirus vaccine clinics are changing their schedules because of all this weather. So UC Health, Christ Hospital, Premier Health, and St. Elizabeth, they all reopened their clinics today at noon. The Cincinnati Health Department's vaccine clinic will be delayed 3 hours, now opening at 11 a.m. Accommodations for appointments may vary. You can check our website for more detailed information. Hamilton County Public Health vaccine appointments are postponed until next week at the same location at the same time on new days listed there on your screen. You can also find this info on our website as well at fox19.com.
And we're also tracking a number of snow emergencies right now on our website. Most are at a level 1. That means if you're out, use some caution. Right now, Hamilton County is still under a level 2 snow emergency, meaning you should not drive unless you have to. Head to fox19.com for that full list.
All right, coming up, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear is adding a group of essential workers to the vaccine list. We'll explain who next.
And a live look from Mount Washington. Our storm tracker is out on area roads, and you can see the secondary roads still not clear this morning at 6:06 on this Tuesday morning. More on the situation maybe where you live coming up.
This is a breaking news alert.
Let's start with breaking news, a live picture from New Orleans. That's where Hurricane Laura made landfall just after 2 this morning. And Cameron, Louisiana, that's on the Texas and Louisiana border, as a very strong Category 4 hurricane.
Yeah, that storm had sustained winds of 150 miles per hour. And as the eye approached, gusts were caught up to 127 miles per hour. That was reported across the area. We're told about 150 residents chose not to evacuate and are riding out that storm.
We do have team coverage. Stefano is at the alert desk. Frank at the weather center tracking that storm. Let's start with Stefano with a look at some of the damage we're seeing already.
Yeah, mostly it's from the wind and the rain. And for starters, here's the big problem right out the gate. This is a live look right here from Galveston, Texas, and it looks pretty much obliterated. You've got powerful winds, driving rains, and there's fears over that 20-foot storm surge we've heard forecasters talking about that would be unsurvivable, as they've said, capable of sinking entire communities on the Texas and Louisiana coast. Now take a look at this. This is some of the first video back, and this is actually shot by a boater, Austin Lewis, who reports being in the center of the eye of Hurricane Laura. What are you doing on that boat, you wonder? Authorities implored anyone along the coastline to evacuate, but not everyone did, as you see right there. The storm grew rapidly overnight and continued to draw energy from the warm Gulf of Mexico waters. It's the most powerful hurricane to strike the U.S. so far this year. And Frank, I've seen reports of anywhere from 15 to 20 inches of rain expected there, but we know wind flattens trees and buildings. The rain and flooding will just crush things, as we've seen here in hurricanes past.
And even as she makes landfall, she's...
All right, Catherine, thanks so much. Soap opera actor John Riley has died. That's according to a post on his daughter's Instagram account. Riley's acting career spanned 5 decades and involved appearances on many TV shows, but he's best known for portraying Sean Donnelly on General Hospital for 11 years. Riley's roles also included characters on As the World Turns, Sunset Beach, and Dallas. He was 86 years old and leaves 5 daughters behind. Right now, his cause of death is still unclear.
And now, here is the guest host of Jeopardy, Ken Jennings.
Ken Jennings making his debut as a guest host on Jeopardy. He holds the record for winning the most games in a row and the highest winnings. Jennings is the first guest host as that show tries to find a replacement for Alex Trebek. You can watch Jeopardy right here on Fox 19 Now at 7:30.
We have an update to a story you'll see only on Fox 19 Now. Do you remember Ellery? We introduced you to her back in November. The Blue Ash young girl needed a service dog for an autoimmune disorder and was raising money to buy one with the help of her family, of course. Well, they believe a service dog will help her with anxiety attacks, speech, and medical episodes. Well, fast forward to now, meet Bernard, Ellery's new service dog. So Ellery and Bernard are spending a week together before he'll be sent off to service dog training. The family is still fundraising to help cover the costs as they are paying monthly. The earliest Bernard could complete his training would be February of 2022, but Ellery will get to visit him during all that training.
Amazon was the country's top grocery store in 2020, according to data research from Dunnhumby. Now, its annual retailer preference index says that Amazon dethroned last year's winner, the Texas-based H-E-B. The research company surveyed more than 10,000 U.S. households, and the results are based on factors like price, quality, convenience, discounts, and speed. Trader Joe's came in third place, Wegmans and Aldi came in fourth and fifth.
From the station that's always local, always now, this is Fox 19 Now.
All right, good morning. Approaching 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. I'm Jessica Brown.
I'm Dan Wells. Let's get right to traffic because we do have a big problem on the Brent Spence Bridge.
Yeah, that's right. Here just shortly after it reopened at the end of December, we already have a pretty bad crash, but this is not causing too much of it. I mean, we don't have a closure or anything like that. So when I say a bad crash, it's just bad timing, really, now that we're in the height of the morning rush. It's been a pretty busy morning for us in the traffic department. We had some earlier issues on 275 in Ohio, right around Winton, but that's cleared for a while now. 75 southbound at the bridge along that upper deck, we do have this accident. Just some extra time that you'll need to factor in. You could obviously take the Claywade Bailey if that's so you're choosing at this point. Let's take a live look at that camera shot of what we're seeing. So just stay left because it looks like primarily that right-hand shoulder and lane are affected going into Covington. I'll send it now to Catherine.
And at least it's dry out there. We have those dry conditions, of course, and then we'll talk about some cold temperatures heading into the afternoon, but especially this morning. Many of us in the mid-20s, but it feels like the teens out there. So we're at 25 degrees in Lunken, Florence, you're at 24. We're at 24 in Batavia, and Hamilton, you're at 25 degrees. And some places, these wind chill values are making the air temperature feel about 10 degrees colder, and the winds aren't even really that strong out there. They're in between about 5 to 10 miles per hour. So feeling more like 15 right now in Florence, feeling more like 16 in Milford, 17 in Mason, and the same story for Westchester as well. A cold start to your day, and it's going to still be a cold afternoon. Almost goes without saying now that it's January. I liked what Jessica said. It's Januarying, and that's certainly what it's doing. And it will continue to do that here heading into the next couple afternoons. Maybe a little warmer for your Thursday, but we are looking at dry weather at least, and the overnight will drop to about 27 degrees. We'll have partly to mostly cloudy skies out there. And then heading into tomorrow, we'll top out at about 46 degrees, partly to mostly cloudy skies, and we're dry. Even for your Thursday, we're a little bit warmer on Thursday, but then Friday is our next potential for some wet weather. We'll talk about maybe some rain, some snow mixing, and maybe some light snow over the weekend. Nothing major at this point coming up in your full 7-day in just a few minutes. Right now, though, let's send it back in studio.
Breaking this morning, a man is dead after a SWAT standoff in Liberty Township.
The SWAT team was called out to the Lakota Point apartment complex for a domestic dispute. We're told crews were outside for hours when they finally entered the home. The Butler County Sheriff tells us that the suspect pointed a gun at officers. A SWAT team member then opened fire, killing the suspect. We're told no officers were hurt. The whole thing is under investigation.
Right now, a Middletown man is in the hospital with serious injuries after his house exploded. It all happened at this home on Fleming Road. Amber Russell lives across the street from that house. She says the explosion happened while she was standing in her driveway. Moments later, Russell says she saw her neighbor run out the front door with burns all over his body.
I heard a bang and saw the windows break and the door fly off. I was very surprised that somebody could walk out
after that because it didn't look like something anyone could walk away from.
The entire back of that house also caught fire. Right now, firefighters believe it was a natural gas explosion, but again, that is still under investigation.
Well, right now, 3 people are behind bars after leading police on a chase. We're told a woman was behind the wheel and had 2 juveniles in the car with her. Police say she was driving a stolen car with a stolen license plate. We're told one of the juveniles also has warrants and the other was arrested on an obstruction charge. Now, the chase started right near Westwood Northern Boulevard in Montana. It ended on Goda Avenue.
A Cincinnati area school district has lost its right to arm teachers and other staff members.
It's a decision that comes just before their controversial policy goes before the Ohio Supreme Court. Lauren Artino joining us now in Madison Township with the details on this. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Jessica and Dan. Madison City school officials, really wanted to arm their teachers. That was shut down by a judge recently. But again, this is going to go before the Ohio Supreme Court today. And all of this, taking place nearly 4 years after a school shooting here in the county. The Ohio Supreme Court, as I mentioned, will hear their case concerning arming teachers here at Butler County's Madison City schools. The idea to equip teachers with guns came after a student shot 2 peers in 2016. Now, Ohio law permits school boards to decide whether to allow staff to carry guns into school buildings. Madison City Schools passed a policy requiring 26 hours of training, but a judge says that was not enough. State lawmakers mandated they be well trained with over 700 hours. Now, this legal challenge, again, as we mentioned, will head to the state's highest court later today. Back out here this morning, we do have this full story. I know it's a lot of information, as well as a statement from the superintendent. It's on our FOX19 Now app and our website. Of course, we'll let you know later today on air and online what the judge decides. Back to you.
Happening today, a man who pleaded guilty to rape, sodomy, and kidnapping charges connected to a 1978 Park Hills cold case is set to be sentenced.
78-year-old Michael Tate was arrested in Georgia in November of 2019. Boone County detectives started looking into the Park Hills attack in 2017, and after noticing similarities to an unsolved Boone County homicide. Kenton County Attorney Rob Sanders says they were able to trace fingerprints from the Park Hills attack to Tate. Detectives who arrested Tate say that he admitted to raping a woman right near Covington. They say Tate also admitted to 2 attacks in 2 other states. Tate is expected to face a judge at 3:30 this afternoon. Also happening today, a former Hamilton County Corrections officer accused of using excessive force is expected to plead guilty. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Jason Mize pushed an inmate so hard into a holding cell that he went headfirst into a concrete wall. Mize resigned from the police department in 2017. He's expected to enter a plea deal in court today.
We have new information regarding the Pike County massacre. Jake Wagner, the youngest member of that family, has a new trial date. Jake is now set to go to trial on August 30th. He is charged with aggravated murder and could face the death penalty if convicted. Last month, the 28-year-old waived his right to a speedy trial through October. Jake is charged along with his parents and brother. All 4 have pleaded not guilty and have been in jail since their arrests more than 2 years ago. As we've reported, the Wagners are accused of murdering 8 members of the Roden family. All 8 were killed execution style in 4 separate homes on their rural Pike County property back in 2016. Investigators believe the motive for those murders stemmed in part from a custody dispute over a young daughter Jake Wagner shared with Hannah Roden.
Coming up, state capitals across the country are preparing for violent protests on Inauguration Day, what the FBI is saying.
And it was a tough night for OSU. A look at last night's game.